Hey Jared, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been watching quite a bit of football over the last several weeks.
Yep,
Um, yeah, and I'm kind of glad it's whittling down to closer to the not because I'm glad season's over. It's just every single day football. So,
yeah,
um, anyway, how was viewing for you?
it's good. It's more intermittent. Like I'm following on my phone a lot of times just because
Yeah.
kids don't want to watch the games.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, like yesterday I was like, today's a football day.
Yeah.
And we ended up not watching all the games anyway, just because
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. But
Yeah.
definitely been following everything closely.
Yeah, I guess that's the luxury of living on my own, where I get to just kind of watch what I want to watch. But also at the same time, I'm like, and then I'm on my own watching these games where that's when I call you a lot, or I just call up everybody else being like, hey, can I just come over and watch this game with you? Anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah, and especially with games like this where it's like playoff games where
yeah,
there's a lot to say. So I'm excited to
yeah,
jump into it. So.
yeah.
Here, I'll share my
Let's do it.
screen. All right, let's see. So here's kind of the bracket so far. I think we talked about up until the quarterfinals, like who we thought was going to make it and who we didn't think was going to make it. I think there's some surprises if I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest a little bit here. So let's just talk about kind of first round and how that went. We've got our we've got our group of five folks that we can chat about. I guess starting off with James Madison and Oregon. What do you think about?
I think everyone was a little surprised how many points they scored. Um, like I
Yeah.
feel like if James Madison wouldn't have let Oregon jump out that fast,
It
they
kind of
could have
would have been a ball
really,
game.
yeah, it would have won. But like that second half was like, oh, Oregon's not looking great, and maybe they were just like too confident, like we're killing
Yeah,
you,
it's
you
hard.
know?
It's hard for me to determine if Oregon was bad or because the coach was just like, yeah, we were just everybody was slacking off, not hitting their things, and it kind of just I feel like they didn't even take that game serious, and it kind of caught up to them. But
Uh,
I will credit, I mean, kind of in comparison to the Oregon Texas Tech game, like I'll credit James Madison's offense. I think that that was what
yeah,
was impressive to me. I was like, wow, they found ways to make plays, and they're like, fine, you're not going to play fully. Well, then we're going to score a lot of points.
right, right. We're
Yeah.
not giving up. We're not giving,
Yeah, yeah. And
and
I have
it's
the fight was there. Yeah.
it's a argument. I know people have been like, Group 5 don't belong. But then you see these things, it's like, well, Alabama got blown out, and other
Yeah.
Group of 5, other power teams got blown out. So I'm kind of like,
The,
eh,
the theory of getting blown out doesn't really matter at this point.
right,
What I will say is I do think most of the top 50, 25 is subjective anyway.
mhm,
And so everyone's like, I think it should be the top 12, just the top 12 seeded, regardless of the conference. And I was like, oh, but see, that's an open door for like the
yeah,
SEC and Big 12
oh man,
or Big 10. So, like, I love that there's a little bit of regulation for other conferences in there, but to your point, I'm like, the Tulane game was a little sad to watch, but again, it goes back to like more so than Indiana and Alabama? Not
yeah,
really. Yeah,
not
like,
really, yeah, kind of got
you
kind of
know, I
got
don't,
boring there, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So, I think out of the group of five, I was most impressed with James Madison. Tulane, I feel like they started the first quarter like, all right, but then they
yeah,
just lost it. They just couldn't get it together.
yeah.
And,
And they had lost. That was weird because they lost to Ole Miss already. And I get
yeah.
it's the
It's just
seeding and it is what it is. Like Alabama, Oklahoma already played, and it's like here we go again.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the thing when it's like when you get too many of one conference, it's like again, here we
Well, it
go.
goes back to like it almost like it undervalues the season play of these games.
Right.
Like, because a lot of the yeah, like you said, some of these are just repeats and they've already played each other, including BYU and Texas Tech and all these other where it's just like, can we just say that if those two end up being, it will just just take kind of like with the Notre Dame and Miami thing, we'll take the face-off value of it. I mean, again, I guess for some championship games, they're like, give us another shot, but
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
but it save us a game. I mean, at this point, this
Yeah.
year, I feel like, I don't know, Nick Saban was always saying that like it's hard to beat the same team twice, but this year I'm like, it's kind of, it feels like that was the narrative to some extent, with the one or two exceptions.
Hmm.
So, yeah, basically onto the Alabama-Oklahoma game where didn't Alabama beat Oklahoma or did Oklahoma beat Alabama? So this was,
I forget which one it
I forget
was.
what, I think
I
this is
think it
one
was
where
Oklahoma, but I'm gonna look.
yeah, I feel like Alabama, because Oklahoma lost.
Oklahoma beat Alabama
That's
previously.
what I was gonna say. Okay, so this is kind of one for one, and one of those. Yeah, it's hard to beat the same team twice. I think what's interesting about this, and we'll compare it to Indiana in a minute, but what was interesting about the first half of this game, I was like, whoa, Oklahoma. I mean, impressive
Yeah,
football. And then I was like, some really amazing plays. And then I was like, and then Alabama, what happened in the locker room? Because it just completely switched where
yeah,
Oklahoma couldn't make any plays and Alabama just, I don't feel like it was this. There's some good plays in there, but I don't feel like it was the same caliber as Oklahoma the first half. And so I was just like, whoa, man, they just lost it. They just lost
yeah.
control of that game. And
I
so,
feel like this game, who was it? It was the Oklahoma coach weeks ago said like it doesn't have to be pretty when you win. So we win ugly, which of course SEC gets that pass, you know.
sure.
But
Yeah.
Alabama also went ugly. So I just remember this game kind of being ugly. Like
Yeah.
it was just very like
Well,
there weren't
uneven.
tons of turnovers, but it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, and now you're going, and now you can't do this anymore. The consistency
Yep. Yeah.
wasn't there. And I remember just coming away from this game being like, that wasn't a great, like the score is kind of like, well, that was a good game, but it just felt kind of like that wasn't a great game.
It was
Like,
just sloppy on both sides. Like you said, the biggest problem was it was kind of amazing football and terrible football from both teams. And so the consistency factor of like a complete actually I do think there's some value. There's a lot of these little like terms people are inventing, but a complete game, I do think that is a championship game. Now, I mean, I think that's a version of the eye test, but I also think because I'm like, sometimes you just have a sloppy quarter and thank heavens you can pull out of
yeah,
it, like the BYU, Pop-Tart Bowl,
Georgia
where I was
Tech.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad we pulled out. That was an ugly win, but at least we won. And so, but yeah, this one was just so uneven. It was so uncalibrated for both. Like there was no obvious winner, even though Alabama won that game to me.
yeah.
Like,
It
and
and
so,
it's I think BYU's in the category of these
yeah,
two teams. Like,
yeah, yeah,
man, hey, you can put together the most complete quarter or half, and you look amazing. But then you have a half where it's just frustrating, and
yeah.
your offense like isn't always humming along, but and I really feel like BYU could have been here in this
Uh,
game and could have competed in
yeah,
this game.
yeah, I mean, again, we can go off on the BYU tangent because the Georgia Tech, I'm like, they're a legit team. I would even throw them in this group of whatever,
Mhm.
and I would say they're probably comparable to Miami, in
Yeah,
some respects. So I think Miami's probably a little better, but I mean, that's also based on a bias as well, But I'm
yeah.
like, I think that's what's interesting about all these. I think, okay, this is my theory. The reason why some of these teams can't be complete anymore is because injuries affect deep
Hmm.
into the season and they don't have the layers that they used to have. Like Alabama used to have these just multiple, like five, four-star tier layers that somebody got injured. Well, great. Somebody that's a five-star can come off the bench. But
Yeah.
most of these teams might have those caliber of teams, but they can't pay for the depth. And so they end up just falling apart kind of last season. So they put together, I mean, it's kind of like with BYU, LJ Martin and all these people that sat out, LJ Martin, Jack Kelly, and
Yeah.
then you got Bear hobbling around where I was like, I'm
Right.
glad we won that game, but man, that was pretty. I mean, we were doing it without our best players really.
The
And
funny
so,
thing is, if BYU would have lost, no one would have
yeah,
said, "Oh, well, their
yeah,
quarterback was injured. They're missing the
no.
running back there." It would just be like, "See, they
Well,
lost."
they would say, well, we're all suffering injuries.
Right.
So, I mean, but at the same time, I was like, that many though? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
And
Alabama's like, we don't have any running backs. I was like, well, I don't know. So it's just,
everyone's injured. Though there's an excuse for Alabama. I just saw something
yeah.
from Nick Saban. It was a meme where he's like, I went and played golf with my Alabama
Yeah,
friends in
I saw
Alabama.
that.
They're like, we're gonna cream Indiana.
Yeah,
Maybe you sent me this, and
yeah.
it's just like he's like, what are you talking about? But I think there's this old stick, like the Alabama enjoyed this run for
For
20 years or
they just
however
got
long Saban
comfortable.
was there, where it's just like
Yeah.
we dominate always. It's like not. not really. Like
Well,
anyway,
what's so interesting about this narrative too is okay, the first round when they beat Oklahoma, they're like, oh, and Alabama's back. Oh my gosh. And like Kalen DeBoer is gonna be there forever. We love him. And then the next round when they lose to the extent they lost, now like I was listening to like commentary today, everyone's like, do they keep him? I was like, really?
right.
Within 1 week, there's like,
Well,
or whatever week that was, there was a turnaround that drastic. I mean, that's the Penn State turnaround, in my opinion, where it's like, I mean, these guys went for a national championship run in 2024, and then they fired their coach a couple weeks
right.
in. You know what I
You
mean?
know,
So,
it's I wonder if that'll be a bit of the demise to the
the
SEC
sport.
and Big Ten
Yeah.
because it's delusional. Certain SEC fans, especially, are like, we should be winning a championship every year because they had won multiple championships every
Well,
year.
they can't
And
handle
now,
mediocrity. Yeah.
yeah, they can't
Yeah.
handle it. And so it's like,
Mhm.
well, we're going to fire him. You're going to fire him. We're going to fire him. It's like, this might hurt you. The fact that you're
I
not
agree with because
letting build or,
well, and I agree because some most schools that are mostly in the mid tier, it's like, hey, 8-4, okay. I mean, not my favorite year, but hey, we went to a bowl game, and so it's like if a team can be fine with a bowl game win, but then be happy with every 6 years they actually have a national championship shot,
right,
that coach will stay there for a while. But like you said, with all these high expectation schools, they will like. I almost like as I was listening to was it Matt Campbell go to Penn State, I kept thinking to him, I was like, do you really want to take a job like I mean, because if you don't perform, you're out, and they'll blame it on you being at Ohio State, and we're the Big Ten, and that's the difference.
yeah,
And it's just they're looking for excuses because kind of like the USC vibe I got when I worked there, where it's like we're the Trojans, so we can afford it, so we should win.
right.
Like so, like the fact that we're not winning is a talent issue, and like, or it's an
Well,
expectation issue. I
it's
don't know.
funny you mentioned I think expectation, but you mentioned the uh, Alabama and money issue because I've seen multiple things where Alabama's spending the most money on football.
Yeah,
So if you aren't getting us a national championship and
yeah.
we're spending this much money,
The boosters
you're
will pull
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and anyway, but it's like if everyone, what, you got the top five teams in the SEC who are like, we're not performing to expectations. We want a national championship. And Big Ten people are like, no, us too. Well, there can only be one champion.
That's
So,
that's what's crazy. It's like when I was a fifth grade teacher, I was at a private school, and like every parent was like, my parents or my son's going to be the next president of the United States, and I was like, well, there's only one. I mean, so
yeah,
like, I mean, that's a huge set of expectations. Like, what about just even like, in charge of a bit a local what like let's go regional, then we'll go national. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
So like it's kind of just this crazy I think you're right. And that's where it goes back to like programs like James Madison, Tulane. They're just like, what? We're in love with the fact that we even got a shot. We got to
right.
run. And like this will help boost our program that we might even get some decent recruits because they all
Yeah,
know, the group of high schools know that they're just it's kind of a minor league for what ends up being the top Power Four schools. And so it's interesting. I just think the complaining about it, about whether they should be there or not. I did buy into that a little bit until the quarterfinals, where I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I mean, the best game of all of this was the Ole Miss Georgia game. Well, Miami Ohio State was pretty fun to watch too,
uh,
but the rest of these games, I was like, yikes, it was a blowout. But sorry,
yeah.
we'll get on to that in a minute. But okay, well, let's talk
Tulane.
Tulane and Ole Miss.
Not much to talk about here. I think they just kind of
Yeah.
they got creamed. The
Yep.
one thing that was like maybe is like, oh well, Ole Miss lost their head coach, and they're doing
Yeah.
okay
But
without him.
man,
So
they have a chip on their shoulder. I think what's probably annoying them is that Lane Kiffin's getting paid out for every win.
gets paid.
I heard he was going to go to yesterday's game, but I'm actually glad he didn't because he would have been a disruption,
Yeah.
rather than a support. So,
Oh yeah, they'd be cutting away to him all the like,
ugh.
oh, there he
Well,
is.
like
Yeah.
what was it, the LSU bowl game, that it wasn't the in the championship playoff, but it was like there was an LSU bowl game and he was one of the commentators, wasn't
Oh
it?
really? Oh, I didn't see that, but that's
Yeah,
kind
and I
of
was like, okay, so he's not on the field, but he's up in the booth commentating on this game, and I was like, I'm so annoyed because it was LSU didn't win. Oh, it was against Houston,
oh,
and
that's right.
Houston won that game, and it's all LSU. I mean, it's kind of the BYU Colorado thing all over again from
Yeah.
last year, but it was crazy. Anyway, the Miami Texas A&M game, I have a lot to say about that. That was, well, actually not that game as much as the Ohio State game, but that was an interesting one. I mean, there everyone's like the wind was such a huge factor. Fine, I wasn't there. I don't know how much the wind played into it, but
Yeah.
that was a very low scoring game.
Uh,
And so,
both teams had to deal with the wind, and
mhm.
also you couldn't get close. And like it was field goals, field goals, field goals. It's like I've seen teams score more in torrential rain
Yeah,
or snow,
yeah,
and that I would almost argue is worse than the wind. And I get the field goal kicker and wind, like that's definitely
yeah.
an issue, but you weren't getting close. Like you weren't getting close enough to get a touchdown that you had to kick.
Well, if you have to keep relying on kickers and the wind is crazy, then it's not going to be a good game. Like it's just
Right.
like, yeah. And I
I don't
think
know.
the narrative here was really interesting. Again, the emotional shift between all these rounds is kind of entertaining to me because when Miami won, it was like, well, Miami's not that good, so Texas A&M wasn't great. I mean, that was kind of how people walked away until the next round where it was like,
Yeah. What?
uh, wait, is Miami that good? Like, and so
Yeah.
I think it goes back to like, do we go back to saying Texas A&M might have actually been better than we thought? Like, theirs was a closer game, you know? So,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
in that game too, maybe it was the win, but it was just kind of like
it was kind of
it
boring.
was kind of boring.
Yeah, it was a
Like
boring
it
game.
was kind of it without the score. It was kind of I had the same feel as the Alabama Oklahoma game, where
Yeah,
it's just kind of like what's going on? Neither of these guys look great, you know? And is the wind that that much of a factor that
yeah,
hey, we know you're going to run and both sides are going to run and we know it. And
yeah.
that's it. It's like that almost shows me like no one could overcome the wind. I don't know.
Well, it's
It's
like you said, it's a variable that shouldn't have played that much into this game. But, again, I don't know how fast and hard those winds were blowing, so maybe it really was something crazy, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but credit to Miami
Credit to
on that
Miami.
one.
They're looking
Yeah.
good. So, I guess
Yeah.
let's just go to the Miami Ohio State game since we're already
Yeah.
down there. Like that was, I mean, and then I'm sorry to Josh for saying this, but that was a fun game to watch. Mostly because I guess not being a blue blood program, again, it goes back to like that. The exception is the Dodgers on the other side of
Yeah.
the end of this, where I was like, okay, I understand the blue blood mentality, but being in a sport where I'm not a part of that, it's been fascinating to me to see the takedown of some of these blue bloods. And so, not that I'm rooting necessarily for it, but I will say Miami just showed up. I mean, that was a game.
Mhm.
I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. It was kind of like the most complete game I've seen Miami put together outside of maybe the Notre Dame game. And
Mhm.
so for me, I've I think what you were saying initially about Miami is like, I hope they don't do well because then everyone's going to say, see, they deserve to be there. BYU shouldn't have been. And I was like, because of all the chaos, I'm not sure anybody's saying BYU shouldn't have been, but they're saying
Yeah.
Miami should have been.
Miami
You
should
know
have
what I mean?
been. Yeah.
And so, and the fact that BYU beat Georgia Tech, I was like, well, they were good. And seeing some of these other scores, I was like, we certainly could have been in these numbers, on other plays.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so for me, I think I've gotten beyond the whole like my dream was that Texas Tech would win and Miami would win and they'd be in the championship playoffs. And then I'd be like,
That
oh,
would
no
be
Big Ten, no
would have been
SEC.
amazing.
That would
Yeah.
have been amazing. Doesn't look like that'll happen. But
Yeah.
I mean, the
Well,
SEC has only got one left. I mean,
that which well, let's see. How many did they start with? They had one,
they had the
two,
most.
three, four, five,
I think they had five or
five,
six. Five. Yeah.
five out of the 12. And Big Ten has one,
I think they had four.
two, uh, three. Am I counting weird?
Three.
I think I.
That's because Tulane and James Madison both
Oh,
got it.
that's right. So they had to. So
Mhm.
I do think the. Oh, I'm trying to scroll down on your screen, and
Oh,
I'm like, I can't control that. Um, I do think the SEC shouldn't have gotten five.
I
or,
agree.
or even four. It's like we need to stop. And I've seen actually a few things like stop the whole narrative of the SEC
Yep.
dominates. Like there should not have been, and we talked about this even before. No one should get more than four. I would argue even three.
I
Like
think
no one
three's the
should get more
tops.
than
Hmm.
three,
I
and
agree.
that's it. And you cut it off at three, minimum two, max three for power four, and
Hmm.
then you get the James
Then it
Madisons. Like
allows the other people to have a shot. Yeah.
right. Because this is, and I think that solves a couple problems. It solves the, here we go with Alabama, Oklahoma. in the first round. Like now we're getting to Indiana or Oregon played, but this is semifinals. It's like you've
Hmm.
earned your way there. Whereas hopefully that first
Yeah.
round, we're not having repeat in conference games. Like that
Hmm.
was kind of a
It was
bummer.
annoying to me.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and Miami winning, it's funny because this also it'll help with the whole there is an evolution of teams throughout the
Yep.
year
Throughout the
where
season.
Miami
Hmm.
looked great and then they kind of went through some stuff and then they're back and now they look great again
Great again, yeah.
instead of like, nope, sorry, you had one loss. That's it. Like the Power Four needs to have like another team. And I know Texas Tech, we'll get to them, they fell flat. But even if Utah was in, like Utah would have, like they've been playing good and they demolished Nebraska.
I know.
And like
Yeah.
BYU did good. They had a sketchy first half, but they showed up and it's like, okay, you put
And beat
together.
an ACC, a good ACC team. Yeah,
So it's like
exactly. Yeah.
this whole like, no, 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 you only get one, barely, and we need five is just annoying. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see Miami, who, Big Ten SEC people probably wrote off as like, please,
Yeah.
Miami will crush them.
Here's the mercy let in. And I
Right.
think Miami took some real issue with that. I mean, and I'm
Oh,
going to say also the ACC probably put a lot of their weight behind them to
oh
say,
yeah.
okay, what do you need? Who do you need? Whatever.
Right.
Because I mean, they didn't make it on their own, like on
I
their own
will
accord.
say,
Yeah.
I'm fine with Miami now. They've proven it,
Yeah.
but there has to be standards of like, wait a minute, your two conference people who played in the conference championship didn't make it, and you moved this other team up. Like
Yeah.
that's still very
That was
weird
that
to
was
me.
frustrating.
It
Well,
shouldn't be like that.
because I think there's a lot of teams good enough like Miami where they could have probably made a similar run,
Mm.
depending on like like you said, Utah, BYU, even like what are
Notre
some
Dame
other
probably would have made a
Notre Dame
run.
probably would have made a run. And so it goes back to like the top 15 are what I've found is that group of like between 8 and 15, it's kind of almost aces because they're all just as good because their records are about just as good. So how do you decide which, of the eight, like which two of the eight is actually going to get in? And that's what's frustrating because it went to the blue blood. It went to Alabama.
Right. Well, and it
And
went to the SEC bias. Look, and it also went to even you look at Ohio State. I know we're on Miami, Ohio State.
Mhm.
Like I've been saying it all year. Like their schedule, like they haven't been tested.
Yeah.
And yeah, that Texas game was good and Indiana game good, and they couldn't score. And it
Yeah.
was kind of like between there and everyone, oh well, look at their defensive rankings and their offensive rankings. Like, well, they haven't played anyone, so of course they're good. And I'm not even saying Ohio State should have been left out of the playoff.
No,
I
no, I
said
don't
this
think
for
they
a
should
while.
have.
Like they should have been ranked lower.
I agree.
They shouldn't have gotten a bye. And schedule means something. And when you
Yeah.
have these bloated conferences where all you're playing is the bottom, mid to bottom people in it, it it's just
Yeah.
like, well, then you get this. You go
Yeah.
in and you play
Yeah.
a game against a ticked off Miami who's like
Has something to prove.
motivated
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
just good night.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
was lights out. I have to give Miami a lot of credit on that. But yeah, I think well, and so I was listening to somebody explain. I mean, there's a lot of people making up ideas of how to fix the problem. Somebody said that there shouldn't be preseason rankings. We should do bowl games first that will determine the preseason rankings, and then we go in.
I'd
I
be
was
okay
like,
with that.
actually,
That
I'm
would be,
okay with that.
it'll never happen. The
No,
the the
but
problem is, I think there are a lot of good solutions out there, and maybe
yeah,
I told you this. The problem is, SEC and Big Ten don't want to give up money. They
yeah,
don't want to split the money,
yeah,
and so while I think the problem is actually very simple to solve. Like
yeah. It's pretty
they don't
simple.
want to
Most
solve it
people,
because the
yeah.
complex issue is the money breakdown.
Mhm.
Oh, but how do we keep money for us? We don't want to share money with you. And the solution, the easy solution, takes money away from the people who are getting the most money. So the SEC got five teams in, and somehow, like, I don't know if you saw the things about Tennessee and Mizzou. I love you, Mizzou, but like,
Yikes.
and
Yeah.
I've been saying it all year round. I'm
Even
like, look at
Vandy,
people's,
like,
yeah, look at their schedule. Their schedules aren't good. They're beating up
well,
on.
they're beating blue blood programs that emotionally all of us are like, wow, way to go. But I was like, okay, because to me, when somebody beat Tennessee this year, I was like, way to go. But that was a
Right.
bias based on past years.
Yeah,
They
right.
hadn't really done anything. And so yeah, it's been tricky to manage the emotional, I mean, and just this huge sway of emotional, like loyalties and understandings. And
Right.
so like the whole Indiana thing, like yeah, I'd heard the bias too, where it's like his golf buddies are like, we can't get on. I can't see a world in which Alabama is good. It's like, or Indiana's good.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, again, that
Well,
goes back to like this historical bias where we're in a completely different world where if you don't see it, then you will see it eventually
right.
in the score.
When you get beat. When you get
Exactly.
beat,
If you
and
don't
then
prepare for it, then you'll see it eventually. So
and
yeah.
then and then you're gonna fire your coach probably prematurely, and then you're gonna hurt more
Yeah.
because
Cause yeah.
yeah,
Can
it-
Kalen DeBoer actually be a good coach? Yeah, I think he could. I think he has a good pedigree. But he's also like he walked into the most undesirable job, in my opinion, out of all of college sports, which is following Nick Saban. Not
right.
the Alabama job, but following Nick Saban. And I think that that goes back to like who's gonna in their first year or two, which is the expectation, by the way, to
hmm
match that. I mean, and the reason Nick Saban left is because he couldn't do it anymore. Because
Right.
all the resources were changing and he couldn't keep that together the way he had
Right. The
before.
way he had done it, yeah.
So,
Because it was abrupt when he left. It's like, oh, you're
yes.
done?
Well, and if
Oh.
he would have stayed, he would have been Kalen DeBoer.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of what I think. I'm like, he left in the right spot where he was just like, good enough. Okay,
Leave
I'm
on
walking
top.
away.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So
sorry, I
anyway,
did.
Miami,
Yeah,
Ohio State. I do think Ohio State was a playoff caliber team. I just think
yeah,
I, the schedule wasn't there, and you can't look at analytics when your schedule's easy because
yeah.
that's what Notre Dame did. Oh, see, we're creaming everyone. It's like, but I did see one that it's like someone beat Pitt, um,
Oh, who was
who
it?
beat East Carolina,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
it was just like, oh,
So
cool.
it's
Like
yeah, transitive
BYU's
properly.
sixth best win
Yeah,
was just beat by or just beat Notre Dame's second best win. It's like, oh, Pitt, that reminded me, Pitt was Notre Dame's second best
yeah,
win. Like
yeah,
anyway, it's nuts. It's all crazy. It's
yeah,
I think the one thing people can agree on is the system's broken.
yeah, yeah. That's what we've
Now
all.
people will disagree on where because they want the advantage for themselves, but like
Yeah,
it's broken. The fact SEC got five teams, it's like there's no way you should have gotten. And
undeserving.
you could
Yeah,
even argue Texas A&M shouldn't have been even been that high. Now I think that's tough. The fact that they lost one game and didn't get to the championship game
yeah.
is
That's
kind of criminal, and that
another.
Alabama
Yeah,
got in there somehow. Like
that's another
it,
broken aspect to that playoff.
right.
Yeah, but I well,
Anyway,
yeah, and I think because last year I was like, I think we were all excited about the new playoff, and then we're like, okay, what we need to fix is the buys. That was like
yeah,
really the only broken thing that we thought. But this year, I was like, the brokenness is so expletive, like in the sense of exploited, where it's like you've got Lane Kiffin and that kind of crazy stuff. You've
yeah.
got the portal transfer, which
Portal,
last time I checked, it was over 4,000 in the portal transfer. And it was interesting to listen to what's his name, Rodriguez from Texas Tech, when he was just like, he's like, most people go into the portal and then don't get picked up. That's
yeah.
the end of their
There's a lot that
career.
don't.
And
Yeah,
he's like, so I had people calling Texas Tech. He was a quarterback at Virginia, and he had people call Texas Tech and say, "Hey, can you take him?" And then he's like, "I already have quarterbacks. Can he be a defensive player?" And he's like, "I'll try." And I
yeah,
was like, and so he saved his career by totally switching, And so I was just like, what I think there's a lot of ego that goes into the
hmm
portal, and there's a lot of humility that comes out of it. And so it goes back to like, would it have been better to stay wherever you
yeah,
were? Then you could at least be on scholarship versus
yeah,
not playing at all. Not playing at
yeah.
all. Yeah.
I've heard the same thing about the portal. Some go and never come out. And it's
Hmm.
like you worked your whole life to get to this point, and now you can't even pay for college.
Yeah. Now
Like
you're now you're
now
like the
your
rest of us.
now your
Sorry.
plan B is like, oops, like I'll go anywhere. And then I think probably maybe not the majority, but it'd be interesting to see the numbers of how many go in at a Division 1 and actually bump up, and how many
Yes.
have to
Bump
go
down.
lower or go to Division 2 or
Yep.
Division 3 just
Yeah.
because like I need to go somewhere. Um,
Yep.
And I bet you the numbers, it's a pretty decent number because only the best players are going up. And
Well, you shared that one thing where it was like the Mississippi State player that went into the portal who said his top four schools, one was Mississippi
oh,
State.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Where I was like, that's so crazy that he's expecting to like basically get more
It's
money
like
by going into
court
the
me
transfer.
again every
Yeah,
year. Well, and that's the thing where it's like every year
that needs
you
to
can
stop.
go in and
Hmm.
court me because I want to negotiate my salary higher. And it's like there needs to be a 2 year commitment, 3 year
Yeah, at
commitment.
least.
Like
Yeah,
this is
it's
it's
getting
ridiculous
insane.
how bad it
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Anyway, all
especially because
right.
we still got a playoff going on. Anyway, all
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So let's Ole Miss and Georgia. No, that was a good game. I have to be honest.
Probably the best
Yeah.
game of all of them at this
Yeah.
point.
And I
Like,
think it's the two most complete team or two most complete teams that played. I mean, it doesn't mean that they've always been that way. I mean, I think
right.
Ole Miss was, I don't know, sometimes they're not always there, but yeah, that was impressive. And the way that Ole Miss came back in the second half, where I was like, this might be over. I don't
I
know.
I turned it off. Well, I was
Yeah,
tired anyway,
yeah,
but I was like going to bed, and then it's like, oh, whoa, what?
yeah.
Like you texted me, I was like, what? They're back.
Yeah, it's like, don't
Okay.
sleep yet. This is a good game. Yeah, that because I was kind of doing something else too, and then I was like, wait, what? And then I mean, they were making phenomenal plays. I mean, I also think too, the level of which these people are playing, where they're putting their bodies on the line. I mean, there's a broken rib from the guy from Alabama. I mean, like people just making pretty
Nuts. Yeah.
daring, so some of those ones I was like, he might have ended his career
Yeah.
risking that one, but hey, you got a first down. Like,
Yeah.
so that was a great game. And I have to give it to Ole Miss. I think the safety at the end was the chef's kiss on that one. Like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and it's funny because I felt like I've said this through the year too. Georgia, they weren't, and comparing it to prior years where Georgia was just dominant,
yeah,
I feel like they're just kind of the sneaky, quiet for someone who isn't an
yeah,
avid SEC follower.
yeah,
It was just kind of like, oh yeah, Georgia's good. But
yeah,
I really haven't heard much about like
yeah,
them. Like they're not
yeah.
the Georgia of 5 years ago or whatever it was when it was just like,
Right.
look out,
Dominant.
they're
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also I think they were the almost the opposite. They were the same, but the opposite of Alabama. Alabama's like, look at us, lots of
Yeah.
attention. And Georgia's like, whatever. We're just gonna be here and hopefully win.
You know,
It's kind of like
win.
they knew that they didn't have all the cards and they were just kind of waiting to see like if they got lucky enough to play enough to keep going on. And so I I do think I mean all the commentators are like Georgia's the most complete team. And I was like, but see, I don't know though. I mean I think that
Looking at their
and
schedule,
yeah,
I'm looking at their schedule now and it's like, oh,
who
it's
did
not
they
as
play?
impressive as I thought. Well, they did have some good wins. So, like,
Alabama.
they beat Tennessee,
Okay.
which,
Okay.
whatever.
Whatever now.
Now,
Yeah.
they beat Ole Miss before. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
they
this was a
did beat Ole
rematch.
Miss. Mm-hmm.
Texas, they beat.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech, they beat. That
Yeah.
was low scoring.
Yeah.
And they beat Alabama as well. So, in the SEC
Yeah.
championship. So, like, again, definitely playoff
It's a
caliber,
handful. Yeah.
but
I I
they
kind of
weren't
compare it to the
killing everyone.
BYU gauntlet where it's like there was a handful of teams that if we got through if we got through Utah, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and what was the other one? Like Arizona, then we would
Yeah.
have like that was
It's
and
like
that's
you
kind of the group.
solidified yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the group that you just explained with Georgia, where it's like, okay, they got through almost all of those. So we got through almost all of those too. So
And,
yeah,
and this is where parity is good, where
yeah,
you don't have that Georgia, Ohio State, where it's just like we will kill you, like always. We will
yeah,
win. There
yeah,
will be some way. Or even back when like LSU and Alabama battles, like years ago, were just
yeah,
like
yeah,
insane. Like
yeah.
it's almost better, but everyone needs to recalibrate and realize no one's infallible or everyone's
No,
infallible now.
the
So
Titanics are sinking. So
the
yeah,
which is great, I
yeah.
think, for college football, where now we got this Final Four where it's just like, oh, we haven't seen.
Interesting.
I mean, they're all still names, like big names, generally speaking, but they're not.
It's
Where's Alabama? Where's Georgia? Where's Ohio State?
yeah,
Like, they're
yeah.
not there,
They're not there. All the
which
people
is
that
refreshing.
and that's where I'm saying like I don't necessarily it's not like I'm rooting against the blue bloods, but I like the refreshing change of pace because it goes back to like when they come back around again, I might be like, maybe I'll cheer for them this time because they haven't been
Right.
there in a minute. So,
Right.
you know, but I don't know. But yeah, that game was fantastic. Way to go, Ole Miss. The Alabama Indiana game, I
It
watched
was
that
good.
one. I mean, mostly just because I was like, I love seeing the shocked faces of the fans from Alabama
Right.
being like, what?
What?
And then the Alabama or the Indiana folks were just like, there was like fans that were like, we never thought we'd make it to the Rose Bowl. And they were just happy to be the Rose Bowl. And I was just
Right.
like, ah, that's so cool. So like, and I don't know, I'm kind of buying more into, I guess now that I don't have Diego Pavia as top of my list anymore, but like I like Fernando Mendoza. He has a lot of humility
Mhm.
and group think, which I actually think is what helps that team win. I didn't realize his brother was the backup quarterback.
I didn't either until they, yeah, they
And
showed
I was
it.
like,
I was
wow,
like,
there's a
oh.
lot of like brothers being
Well, the only
placed.
reason, so I watch games on mute because
Yeah.
I turned it on and I was like, this is why I watch it on mute. Like, it was just so
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, but it was towards the end of the game and I saw Mendoza in as quarterback. I'm like, I'm surprised they have him in
Yeah.
still.
At this
And
point.
then they
Yeah.
showed this thing like,
Yeah.
oh, it's his
Alberto.
brother.
Yeah.
Like,
And I was like,
I
wait,
didn't
what?
realize that.
I went straight to my phone to be like, who's Alberto? Is that his brother? And then, yeah, it was. I'm just like, well, to be honest, what a great legacy that you're creating with that next layer of quarterbacking if you do get that.
Yeah.
But,
Um,
um,
but overall, I remember thinking I saw a thing where it's like seeing Indiana on the Rose Bowl, Big Ten school, harken back to the days where it's Big Ten, Pac-10 um,
yeah.
games, and I remember the year when we'd go sell programs
Yeah.
that Wisconsin came, and I remember people
Yeah. I
there being
remember
like,
them.
"We haven't been in 40 years," and it was
Yeah.
kind of like cool, and that's what it reminded me of. It's like I
Yes.
don't know if Indiana's ever been, but it's like we've never been. We're so glad to
Yeah.
be here. So that was kind of a cool aspect to be like, oh, you
Yeah.
came and you dominated
Yeah,
too.
it reminded
So
me for the first time I went to the BY or Utah game. I don't normally go to Utah games, but a friend told me that he had an extra ticket for the first time Utah went to the Rose Bowl and played Ohio State. And I was just like, I'll wear a red shirt for that.
yeah,
But I was like, I'll go
it
because I'd
won't
never
say
been to the Rose
Utah.
Bowl despite growing up in Pasadena. So I was just like, that was so fun. But like, but it was so cool to see the Utah fans just come in the droves for the same reason. They're like, we've never been ever to the Rose
Yeah,
Bowl. And we're like, this is the first time we've ever been, and it's really cool to see. And so I guess I just love a good underdog story. And so like for me, I'm just like, what's nice about that is let's even say they don't make it past that. That was a good win. That was
yeah. Oh
something to
yeah,
at least put in the books and be like, we did a great job in the
yeah,
playoffs. So,
yeah. Found myself cheering for the Big Ten, I guess, over.
uh,
I mean,
except
it's
for Texas Tech,
the
I was cheering for
what's
that.
the
Yeah.
lesser of two? Yeah,
Yeah.
lesser two evils in these type of games. It's just like, who do you go for? But
Yeah. I had a friend that was
whatever.
like, a rank of people I cheer against. It was his rival and then the SEC and then the Big Ten.
Yeah,
And it was like, yeah, okay. Because the SEC sets them up to be themselves up to be a villain. And so it's like, okay, now everybody's actively rooting against you.
right.
So, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, good game. And
Uh,
then the Texas Tech game.
Too bad. I mean,
That was really rough.
the
Yeah.
offense, I had my question marks through the year.
Yeah.
Like, they're not explosive. They've had explosive, but it was their defense that could
That set them
dominate
up to win.
so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, that they could do. And their defense actually did good. I
They
think I
did a really
texted you
good job.
this or talked to you.
Yeah.
It was similar to how BYU played Texas Tech. Like,
Yeah. It
their
was.
defense kept them in the game, but their
Yeah.
offense couldn't get going. That's exactly what happened to Texas Tech. Like, they met another good defense and they couldn't overcome it. They couldn't
Yeah.
score. At least BYU scored
Well,
against
and
them. But
I feel like Oregon's offense was better than BYU's offense. So that's what
mhm,
helped them on that. But I'm like, even
yeah,
that, the first half of that game was 6-0. I mean,
yeah,
so like they were, it was a complete defensive battle. I love seeing Texas Tech like totally rock Dante Moore. And like, but like to that point, I was like, the Texas, I've never seen them stall, the offense stall like they
yeah,
did. But like you said, it reminded me like when the second half of the championship, the Big 12 championship game, the defense scored those touchdowns. And
yeah.
some of it was interception for like a pick six, but some of it was in like intercepting on the 12-yard line. And
Right.
so it's like, okay, but okay, of course you get four tries to go get that, you know. And so I think it goes back to like the commentators kept saying like Texas Tech has such an explosive offense. I was like, did they
I
though?
think there's a byproduct,
I don't
yeah, of
know.
the
I mean, I've got our dad screaming at the TV the whole time, put in the other quarterback because he
I
was better
know.
at at Utah. And I was like, all right, well, he was mad that the TV didn't listen to him. But anyway,
Yeah,
but I will say, like, the defense actually showed up. It was just Texas Tech's offense that couldn't
right.
get off the ground. I do think Oregon, I feel like Oregon has been one of those teams that has been getting, but kind of like Miami. They kind of were fine in the beginning of the year, but they've really kind of hit their stride right now. And so I hate saying it because for some reason I find myself cheering against Oregon these days. But
Yeah,
mostly because it's just this narrative of like, oh, see, they're
we're good.
amazing.
We're
Because
good.
all
Yeah.
year long they were placed higher, in my opinion, than they should have been. And
Mhm.
so I'm not
I'm
sure they
looking.
deserved it then, but I feel like they're earning it now. So
Well, and that's the tough part because the playoffs should be placed based on what you've done,
merit.
not the potential,
Yeah.
which is why I think Notre Dame should have been left out. It's like, what have you done actually?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I agree.
lost your two hardest games you lost.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be in. And like if you do playoff based on that, you will have more people scheduling harder
Mhm.
non-conference games, which is what we want. Then you get
Mhm.
better games throughout the year, but instead, everyone's gone soft in the non-conference because it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They're looking at
Mhm.
potential. So
Mhm.
SEC and Big Ten have the best potential.
Mhm.
But anyway, so like again, is Oregon a playoff team? Could they win the whole thing? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm even okay with them in the playoff,
Hmm.
but I just hate the whole like, oh, well, we judge this team by this and we judge this team by this.
The inconsistency.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that's what bothers me the most. It's almost like Oregon's a byproduct of that. They were just the one that was pinpointed for it. They were
Mhm.
given the advantage where other people weren't.
Right.
And that's
Right.
I think it comes down to their brand and what they have done. And what's nice for those schools is they can lean on it, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that for much longer, as we can see with all
Hopefully.
these play. Well, okay, so here's the question that kept coming up. Is the buy a benefit or a
Mhm.
drawback? Because everyone's like, in the past,
That's a
so for
tough one.
eight buys now, only one person has won.
Right. I mean, I look at it this way too, because even in the pros, like there was a couple years where the Dodgers got a bye
Hmm.
and they lost in
Hmm.
that first round.
Yeah,
And so I don't think it's a college football problem. I think it's, hey, you're in the
it's a
rhythm of the
championship.
season
Well, and there's
and then
what,
you get out of the rhythm, but
yeah.
there is an argument for getting healthy
Yes.
also. Like,
If there's a way to do both, like I don't even know, like watch your B team play or something. But like there's a morale, like you think of it's a momentum thing, I think is what I'm actually trying to build. Like the Miami momentum build has actually been a huge benefit to them. Had they
mhm,
had a bye, I'm not sure they
yeah,
would have done as well. I really don't think they would have. So I think I'm starting to argue in my head for at least a 16 team playoff now because then
mhm,
there's not that bye.
everyone's in it. Yep, I
Everybody's
agree.
in and everybody has to earn it all the way through and there's a momentum that keeps going.
I
So
I
yeah,
think I mentioned that even last year. It's like how,
yeah,
and not only just because of the bye,
yeah.
but imagine, I'm sure Texas Tech, Indiana, Georgia, and Ohio State would have loved a home game instead
Yes.
of a neutral site. Give
And the
us a
fans
home
would have
game.
loved it. I mean, my
Oh yeah,
gosh. Yeah. I
like
mean,
if
yeah.
BYU made it and got a bye, I'd be
Yeah.
happy. But
Oh,
I'd also be like, man, it would have been so
it'd been
cool to
so
have a
fun.
home playoff game,
Yeah.
you know,
Which
for the
nobody ever gets, like for the
or
first round. You know what I mean? So, and people are still arguing that for the quarterfinals and past that all should be home games and stuff. I was like, I mean,
eh,
it depends on where the bowl games actually lie. I mean, if you're going to put them at
yeah.
the beginning of the season, maybe, but like there, I also think when we get to the quarters, semis, and national, there has to be a neutral site
I like
aspect
the
to it.
net. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
first round, cool. You're home. You earned it.
yeah, yeah,
Like, let's do 16 teams.
yeah,
Top eight are at home.
yeah,
And then from there, yeah, let's use the bowl. I'm fine with the bowl system and
yeah,
everything. Getting neutral. Because even the pros, at least for the Super Bowl, it's neutral. Like,
yeah,
we want to know who's best. You kind of take out the home field advantage. Because
yeah.
that first game, BYU played Texas Tech, like the home field, like, and I know they got beat in, well, it was also in Texas, but like,
Both of them were in Texas. Yeah,
they're
so
both in Texas. Like, I would truly like to see like a true neutral site game to really duke out
Yeah,
who's the
like put
best.
it in like Michigan or something like that. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
or what would have happened if BYU would have had a home field advantage for one of those games? What
Yeah,
that
for
would have
one of
looked like.
it would have
Mhm.
been they could have still lost, but
Yeah,
like BYU has a great home field advantage
they do.
and
They do.
they could have won
Yeah.
also.
All right, so what do you think? Let's project a little bit on these games. We don't have many to
Whew.
project on, but
Yeah.
who do you think will be in the Arizona, Indiana, or Oregon, Indiana? Sorry.
This is tough actually,
Yeah,
because
I
the
know.
way Oregon played,
Hmm.
I'm rooting for Indiana because they've
I'm
never been
rooting for
there,
them.
but
Yeah.
also Oregon, I don't know that they've won a champ. They've been
And,
so close so many
yeah, and
years.
this is a rematch, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
and
Indiana
Indiana
won the
beat
first
them
one.
at Oregon and it was by a little bit. Like so again, I think this will be a shootout. I think this will be a version of Ole Miss in Georgia.
Yeah.
If
Kind of pulling for Indiana. I feel like
Yeah, I agree.
Indiana is the Chiefs from a few years ago when they hadn't won any Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's a good
Everyone's like,
comparison.
please, oh, it'd be so cool to see you win.
Yeah.
We love you. And,
Until it became a
then
new dynasty, now everybody's
until
rooting
now
against
it's
them.
like, no, we don't like you anymore. But like, I do feel like it's that initial feeling of like, oh, yeah, let's pull for
We'll
Indiana.
just give you one because you deserve one,
Right.
But what they probably don't realize is the dynasty in Indiana is going to be over the next 10 years. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as Kirk Cignetti's there, I think that's going to be a force to reckon with. So,
Well, how about this take? This is just me trying to stir it up. Looking at Indiana's schedule,
hmm
they beat Alabama
hmm
handily, but you could argue Alabama should have not even
Sure.
been in the
Yeah.
playoff, right?
Yeah.
You look at the rest of the schedule, they beat Oregon. That's a
hmm
good one. They beat Ohio State. Only two like good wins, but now Ohio State, you're kind of like, well, is
Yeah.
Ohio State as good
Is it
as
a
we
good one? I
thought,
don't know. We don't know.
or
Yeah.
not? Oregon's looking better, and they beat them once. So
Mhm.
again, not saying that Indiana
Yeah.
shouldn't be in there or shouldn't even be the one seed, but I'm just saying like maybe their schedule, wasn't as tough, and now they're kind of Ohio State from last year, where it's like now we're gonna prove it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm pulling for I think Indiana, but
Yeah. Me too.
if Oregon won, I wouldn't be disappointed or
Or
mad or
surprised. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I feel the exact same way. So just ditto to all of that.
All right.
Old
What
Miss
about Ole
and
Miss Miami?
Miami. This is
What
an
do you think?
interesting one because Old Miss, I don't know. I found myself all year being like, okay, good for you, but I can't get on board with cheering for him for some reason.
Yeah,
But this last game, I was actually because I think you asked me who are you going for. I was like, I'm finding myself rooting for them because
yeah,
they're a bit of an underdog, and what they went through with the Lane Kiffin thing and all the other stuff where it's like man, they've gone through it and like a pretty like grueling. I mean, most people that would have lost a head coach like that, and then even today, I mean, their assistant coaches, they actually flying to the next game or are they
yeah,
going to LSU to do the transfer portal today? Like that is a nightmare. And the fact that I'm just kind of like I feel bad for them. And
yeah,
also, is Ole Miss going to get this opportunity again now that they've had a coaching change? I don't know.
yeah.
And
That's a
so
good point.
I I think but I actually really find myself out of the two, I think I'll find myself rooting for Miami more so than Ole Miss. But I think with this one, it's a little bit the reason why Miami, I'm kind of rooting for that is I want a non-SEC Big Ten
Yeah,
member in the championship game, just because
yeah,
I don't want us to see me there. I'm kind of tired
yeah,
of it, and I would love to hear the narrative. Again, this is the second year in a row that the SEC didn't make it. That would
yeah.
be beautiful, especially with how much crap the ACC has gotten, you
Oh
know.
man, they've had.
And
That's why we need text them. It's like
yeah, dang.
people this year are finally being like Big 12's better than ACC, and
Yeah,
then it's like see how bad, and now it's like oh, then you get your Miami to run. So it's kind of this trade-off
oh
of
yeah.
like ACC and Big 12 are kind of in the same boat of like
They're the
proving
underdog conferences in
themselves.
the in the Big Four.
I
Yeah,
do think the ACC gets passed because they do have Florida State, they do have
Clemson.
Clemson, they do have
Mhm.
Miami, but they haven't been consistent over the
Mhm.
past couple years, and they've been kind of no tanking a little bit, not
Yeah,
tanking, but like just not as good as
yeah,
they you would expect. So I
yeah.
think the ACC has the potential to get
To
back and surpass
catapult a
and
little bit
right.
faster than the Big
They
12
have
does.
some of those. Oh,
Mhm.
Florida State, yeah, remember when they were great? Oh, Clemson, remember when they were great? They
Mhm.
get the passes. Big 12 doesn't get passes
Yeah,
on
no,
anything. It's all
it's
earned.
very frustrating. Yeah.
But to your point, if you knock the SEC out, who had five teams and they can't
Yeah.
get one to
To the
the
championship.
championship, and of the five, they only got one in the final four. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, all right. Like I think last year someone was like, "See the SEC best team, we have this many in the quarterfinals." It's like, yeah, you also started with six, teams, or I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
it's like the odds are in your favor here.
Because they didn't even make the title game, did they? SEC didn't play. I think it was two Big Ten teams, wasn't it?
No, it's Notre Dame and
No,
Ohio
that's
State.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So I was like, they didn't even make it. So I think what's frustrating about the SEC right now is they can't buy into their own demise, and so they will continue their own narrative and I do think there's a mass quantity of viewership with the SEC, and so
Hmm.
and that's what's really frustrating, I think, from my perspective, is
With the
like,
dollars. Yep.
yeah. And so from my perspective, I would really love to see Miami win on this one,
Yeah.
and take on Indiana. I think that would be kind of the
That'd be a fun
underdog
one.
story of the year. And
Yeah.
so,
Even though
and
Indiana's the one seed, they still feel like an underdog.
well, they
Kind
had to
of.
work all year for that, and I feel like they deserved it. But I also think too, a number one and a number 10 seed. Wow, that would
Yeah,
be kind of awesome
that would
playing
be good.
off to be like, because this last one, they kept saying that this is the first time a 10 seed has made the semifinals. And I was
Well,
like, well, there you go.
it's also the second year of
Yeah,
the 12
second
team
year. I was
playoff.
like, all right, so
So,
let's come up with new
but
stats.
to
But
that point, it would
yeah,
be great if you had, even if Oregon won, you have the
yeah,
10 and the
five.
5 in there,
Be
then it's
like,
kind of like, all
yeah,
right,
the first five doesn't even matter.
all
Then
right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I'm excited for this. I do. I think if Indiana Miami got there, I really wouldn't care who won because it's a win either way, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
but
So, of
yeah,
the four, who do you not want to see there? Is it just Ole Miss?
Ole Miss because it's the SEC. I don't think I want to see Oregon there. I don't know. Mostly because I'm like they've been there. I feel like they've
They
had
just haven't
more.
won.
Well, yeah, and good for them. But I was like, they've been in the conversation and in the playoff system for a while,
Yeah, that's true.
and
Yeah.
yeah, too bad they haven't won. But I also they had the decade with what's his name, Marcus Mariota, where it's like they did a phenomenal job. I even
Yeah.
was rooting for them quite a bit, and so I feel like it's like I'm at the point, especially with all these changes, to be like, I love the chaos aspect of
Yeah.
the blue bloods and the programs that have the most money being rocked. And
Yeah.
Indiana does have money, obviously, but
Yeah.
and as do all these programs right now. But I do think just the ones that haven't been there in a long time, I'm looking forward to that. So, what about
Agreed.
you? Who do you want? Who,
I think it would be fun to see Indiana, Miami in
yeah,
there.
who's the
Indiana,
least one that you don't want? The one you
probably
don't?
Ole Miss, just because
Yeah, SEC.
SEC and whatever. But then it's also their semi underdog because their
Yeah,
coach left,
yeah.
So that's why it's kind of a nice Final Four.
I like this Final
Yeah.
Four, actually.
I,
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up, so like with Miami getting this far, I think we talked and I saw the question of like, does Miami have to win to validate the committee putting them in? And I think the general answer was yes.
Yeah.
And now it's like Notre Dame's gone real quiet. I feel like if Miami would have lost, oh boy. But even
Oh,
if they lost the first round, I think Notre Dame would have been like, see, we could have. And the fact that
they won
Notre
two
Dame
now.
lost to Ohio State last year in the championship game, and then Miami beat Ohio State to get to the Final Four is kind of like, oh,
Well,
it's like
it's hard to argue. I mean, it's
interesting.
kind of the same thing as like Texas Tech losing to Oregon. It's kind of, you don't hear BYU fans being like shouting at the top of their lungs, we
Right.
should be there. It's like, oh, that's I think
Yeah.
why we
We're
were all cheering for Texas Tech to be like, just show
right.
up at least a little
Yeah.
bit. But
But
yeah,
also, and I'll say I think Notre Dame, they probably could have beaten things, but beaten some of these teams and done well. Like that's
yeah.
the thing. Like there's always going to be this fringe. If you go to 24, there's going to be the next two are going to be
The
like,
people that could
see,
have made
we
it,
could have
yeah.
done it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like even when it was the two, it was you'd argue the fringe. When it was four, you argue the fringe. So we're always going to argue the fringe. And some years they're going to get it right. Some years they're not going to get it
Well,
right.
and it's always gonna hurt to be the first team out,
Right.
period. You know what I mean? Like, because that just means you were that close, you know?
It
And
it's
so
and we talked about this. It's just when the bias goes, it's not fringe. When it's how did Alabama move up or not
you're
move
not, you
down
moved
after a
down.
lot? Like
Mhm.
how it's when there's inconsistencies in how teams are treated, that's when it's like, okay, there's a big problem
Yeah,
here.
it's a big problem. Well, and that's what I think we expose is like we were moving to the system that was going to make it so much better.
Right.
But what it's exposed is almost every inch of problem. Like there's a flashlight on all of it, and all these rats
Right.
are running around. So it's just like, okay, somebody's got to do something about this.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what was interesting about that is like hearing the college game day be like, who's the people we go to? And they're like, the
Right. They're
NCAA is
NCAA
no,
can't.
they cannot because of what is it, the antitrust, if unless they create legislation, they will get sued. So they can't be an authority on this. And without that, then we're just
There's
runabout. So
nothing.
basically, they're like, it has to be the conference commissioners, but they're all biased based on their own thing. And so
Oh man.
so they had
Yeah.
suggested that Nick Saban go in as a consultant. I was like, well, he has a bias, don't you think?
Yeah. I
Anyway,
wouldn't put Nick Saban in. I've heard
but
that a lot, and I'm like, I
yeah.
disagree. But I get the concept of it. You
Of
need
like, we need somebody to
someone.
go in there. Because I will say with what Nick Saban has suggested, I do agree with most of it. To be like, yeah, because what he's trying to advocate for is the players. He's like, this is unfair to the players in general to have all these different things. And most of it isn't like he's not talking about SEC gets this many slots. He's talking about scheduling of like
Oh
this
yeah.
needs to be here. He even said that he thinks that the portal shouldn't open up until May at the end of the academic
Uh,
calendar year because he's like
yeah.
that's what the NFL does and also that's favors them finishing out their
It's in
year
school.
in
Yeah.
school. And so I was like, that's brilliant. I mean, so
I'd
for
be
that
on
reason,
board
I
with
was like,
that.
sure. So
And
anyway, yeah,
there needs to be a rules on coaches. You
yep,
can't leave
leaving. Hmm.
till until the season's over.
Yep.
Everyone, it starts at the same time. You can fire your coach all you want,
Yeah.
but you can't hire anyone
You can't
until
hire anybody. And
the
that's what he said.
season's
It would
over.
be at the same time as the transfer portal, kind of like maybe a week before or something like that. But see, at that point, and he said that spring ball can't start until after the portal closes.
Mm.
And so he's like,
Yeah,
that's another thing too, where you're giving back some level of like these kids don't have to work year round on football. They actually can have an academic year. You know what I
right.
mean? And weight
Yeah.
train in the off season or whatever else they need to do. But I don't know. So I agreed with a lot of it, and they're like, hire him as a consultant and come up with a new thing. I was like, do
Who,
you think how
who'd you
long?
be consulting? The SEC commissioner? Like that's the first problem. It's like you got to get the SEC and Big Ten
Well, I
to
think
relinquish, or
the
ESPN to relinquish control.
yeah, and I think Nick Saban being in there to talk sense to the SEC commissioner, who obviously won't have, at least will play some level, but at the same time, I was like, he's the most powerful man in the room, weirdly.
Yeah.
And so I think there could be some things, at least on the schedule, that most would agree to. But I don't think they're going to agree on playoff stipulations in
Yeah.
general.
Oh yeah.
I just don't think they will.
It's all money. We've said it all year. It's
Oh,
all money driven,
yeah,
and no one wants to give up the stranglehold they have on money, even though they could make the player's life better, the fan experience
better.
better.
Yeah,
Like it's a fairly simple solution,
yeah.
but
But
and I
it's
get
not when
that
you put money in there.
it's
Yeah.
not when you put money in
Yeah.
there. No.
Anyway.
Anyway, well,
Well,
who's your champion?
my champion, I think my champion's Indiana this year.
I think the
I
champion comes
see
from
most
that game,
likely. Huh?
Indiana, Oregon. I think
Yeah.
it comes from that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Now
My
Miami
second,
could keep
yeah.
a
I was gonna
keep a
say
chip on their
Miami's,
shoulder. Yeah.
yeah. Miami's, I think, my second level on that, but we'll see. I mean, it really any of these schools can take it based on their resume of what they've done to
Yeah.
get here. So
I I'm kind of just because of the way Oregon handled Texas Tech's defense, it makes me a little nervous for Indiana. And I know they
yeah.
played, but like if Oregon's really on a
It-
roll here,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they gave them a good game the first game, like did they learn from it? And it's like, all right, we got it this time. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It'll
we'll
be
see.
interesting to see if, because both teams have that to pull from. What
Yep.
could be a problem with Indiana is the inflation of ego based on how badly they're like, wow, we're going to
Yeah.
dominate the rest. I mean, we already beat Oregon, so, and we beat Alabama that bad. I think Kirk Cignetti is not that type of person. So if you can keep the egos in check, then they have a shot.
Right.
Um, but we'll see. Because man, that guy likes, I mean, he has the ultimate frowny, angry face on the sideline.
He's
Like,
I I saw this one meme of like his reaction to every and it listed all these
like,
things. It's like Lavelle Edwards,
yeah.
who
Except
never
Lavelle
reacted.
Edwards wasn't mad. Like he looks
He
like he's going to rip somebody's head off. Like,
well, I agree. He didn't
yeah,
look mad, but he never changed
never. No, it
expression.
was the same thing.
That's
Same
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that's what he's like. Yep.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Well, I guess we'll maybe touch base when all this is done, but
All right.
fun
Well,
times.
complain about the SEC and Big Ten again.
All right. Talk
All
to you
right.
later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.